All right, what we're doing is we are actually prepping a car up for epoxy primer. Now this car was both sandblasted and soda blasted. So I'm going to kind of show you what you should soda blast and what you should sandblast, because we don't want to sandblast the wrong items and then ruin our classic car such as this one right here. If you look real close, you can see that this has been soda blasted. The outside of the car has been soda blasted, and everywhere that you see like the red paint going around the window, that's where we had 2-inch tape with cardboard on it so it wouldn't mess up the glass, this, that, and the other. And then what we did once we got that done, then we took it over to the sandblasters, and he got the whole underneath of the car. You can see that right there. He took everything off. We're talking the undercoating. He took the old paint off, he did the rear end, he did the gas tank, leaf springs, basically everything underneath the car has been sandblasted. Now the reason that you sandblast the bottom of the vehicle versus soda blasting is because the finish on the bottom of the car is going to be 10 times more, what should I say, abrasive or harder or aggressive than the paint job on the outside of the car. And the metal is a lot thicker, and we don't have to worry about anything warping. So if you look right here, you can see where we took the sandblasting right there to where the engine compartment stops. That's the situation you have right there. And then of course this is soda blasted. Look at the difference in the finish of soda blasting versus sandblasting. Complete, total different monster all the way. Sandblasting will remove the factory etching that is applied at the factory or whatever, and once that's done, do not touch that metal. Now if you soda blast it, you can touch it with your hands, you can do whatever you want, and it will not rust out because it acts as a protective coating on it that is protecting the metal from the natures of, right there, my filthy hand, my sweat, and rain. Now if you set this out in the rain, speaking of rain, yes, it's going to rust. But if you're inside a building such as this right here, all right, or in your garage at home, it will last many, many months before it starts to rust. And then we had the front of the core support sandblasted, but we didn't do the inside of the engine compartment. And the roof, I'm sorry, I was laughing because we got river rat down here in his hole. What's up, dude?
Howdy, folks.
Okay, what are you doing here, guy?
I'm brushing all the everything.
Getting everything loose,
all the
breaking it up,
here,
cleaning it, ready for paint.
Be prepared.
Because this is what it takes. What about right in here, guy? I see a bunch.
Yeah, I still got.
Okay, you haven't cleaned that, guy. Let's get that cleaned up. Exactly. Okay. So what we got Limpy doing here, the river rat Limpy, he's actually inside his rat hole, and he is getting all the inside of that prepped up. Now the reason I didn't want to sandblast that or soda blast that is because it's got all the electrical in it, it's got the air conditioning lines, and a lot of other stuff that we would have had to take extra special care of. So that's the way that we're prepping this up. We will be putting this into epoxy primer. Once I get done DIYing it, that's what I'm doing over here. I'm DIYing the metal, and you can see here's my DI sander. So I'm DIYing the outside of the car with my DI sander using 80 grit. And what that's doing, that is cleaning all the soda off and prepping the metal up so the epoxy primer sealer will stick. Now you heard me use the word sealer. We're putting epoxy primer sealer on it to seal the car while we work on it. By the time we do all our body work and all necessary block sanding, this, that, and the other to prep it up for sandable primer, most of the epoxy primer will be gone. Now epoxy primer is a non-sandable primer. If you hear the word epoxy primer, that is a sealer. Epoxy sealer. People mix that up very, very strongly, and I get so many calls on this. I'm going to put epoxy primer on there and block sand it. You can't do that. Epoxy primer is a non-sandable primer. It is a sealer. We are going to prime the whole vehicle with it to seal the metal because it's going to take several months for this car to be done. When we get done sealing it, here's a good example. We are taking this car and we're going to paint all the underneath in the engine compartment. We're taking it to the mechanic shop so they can do all the mechanical work on it. It'll be there for several months while they're working on it. So we are protecting the car from any type of contamination that might occur while it's in the process of getting painted. Remember that. Epoxy primer is a sealer. It is not a sandable primer. It is not a primer that you would put on top of your Bondo and, you know, block sand out and say it's ready to paint. That's where primer comes in. 2K primer. Primer filler primer. Two-part epoxy primer is a sealer, not a primer. Remember that. Because that's real important to remember. Real important.
Welcome to D.I.Y. Automotive School with my friend Pete and Minnie, the body shop girl. It's everything you need to know about cars and more.
So this side of the car here is ready for primer, and I want you to take a good look at what that looks like. As a matter of fact, we can probably look right here. You can see where I DA sanded it and where I didn't DA sand it. All right. Before you apply any epoxy primer to bare metal, you have to DA sand it with a DA sander and 80 grit. The 80 grit will make sure that your primer will grip to the metal. Now, when it comes to body work, you don't use 80 grit. 80 grit is not a sandpaper to use for Bondo. Okay, that's where we get into a grinder and we get into 36 grit. All right, all we're doing is prepping the metal so the epoxy sealer has something to grip to and seal our car and protect it against grease, wax, and just contaminations that will occur. Everything that's been sandblasted, we're going to go ahead and paint black. What?
I didn't say nothing.
You got anything to add to that?
No.
You don't have anything to add to what you're doing here?
This is a bitch.
Okay.
You just got to stick to it till it gets done.
Okay, what are you doing? Show us what kind of tools you're using and how you're prepping this up.
2 wire brushes.
Okay, I can't see that. You're moving so quick.
Look, I'm using 2 wire brushes,
Okay.
and I'm using a Scotch-Brite.
What about your scraper on the end of the wire brush?
Yeah, I'm using
Can you
that.
tell people how that works? I mean,
Yeah, that gets all the grease and crap out. Gets down in the corners and crap. The brush would dust it off.
how long have you been working on that, sir? Couple hours?
2-3 hours.
Yeah. Let's get her done, bud.
All right, bro.
So you can see by what you're watching here, to really prep the car properly and do a job that needs to be done, it takes a lot of work. What is Minnie, the body shop girl, doing? What are you doing?
I'm scraping this seam sealer stuff
Okay, that
off.
seam sealer from the factory where they put that on there when they had that the bottom valance on. And now you're removing that so we can prep it up for...
Yeah, you don't want to spray over this
Yeah,
stuff,
you don't
'cause
want to spray over
This
it.
isn't hard. It's
Right.
like gummy surface.
Looks like it's real gummy and gooey.
It is.
Okay, all right. So you're getting rid of that and prepping it up. So that's the name of the game, prep. Your prep job is your paint job. Take care of your car while you're working on it, prep it up properly, and your car will be a beautiful paint job. We're going to be seeing a lot of videos on this car, 1965 Mustang. 87-year-old man owns this car. He's owned it for 50 years, 48 years, and we're going to do him a really square job and beautiful job. So keep your eyes out for this car, and open that door, Limpy. Go ahead and show you what kind of car we're working on here. It's a beautiful, immaculate car. You can see how good he takes care of that car. And we're going to do him a square deal. So hopefully this car is going to be done very soon, and it's going to be done right, because that's the only way to do things, is to do it right. Because if you're not doing it right, then you aren't doing it at all. This is Pete, my friend Pete, your friend Pete over at D.I.Y. Auto School, showing you the difference between soda blasting and sand blasting. Soda blasting is for the outside of the vehicle. Sand blasting is for the inside of the vehicle. I'm sorry, I don't mean inside of the vehicle. Underneath the vehicle, engine compartments, and stuff like that. All right? Stay away from, okay, hold on. Minnie the Body Shop Girl wants to say something just one time.
Never sandblast your parts, like your hood, your fenders. It'll warp them. Don't ever
Sandblast the body of the car, the outside shell. Do not do that.
Right.
You will ruin it.
That's
all right? You will ruin it. Do you want to add anything, Rat? Hold on. Hold on. Do what?
Chemical dipping. You do not, I repeat, do not want to chemical dip your
Why not?
car because it eats up everything. And there won't be much left of your car.
Can I go ahead and add to that?
You can, go ahead.
Another reason we don't want to do a chemical dip on our vehicles is because it will remove all of the paints, primers, and sealers, factory sealers from the metal. It will remove all that, and it will get in places that you will never be able to get paint back again. So stay away from dipping. I don't care what anybody says. Dipping your car is a fucking clown act.
You'll be a dip if you dip it.
Okay, Minnie told me to relay, you will be a dip if you dip it.
Shit.
So
there you go.
dip shit, dips, whatever. So don't dip your car. Just plan on doing a lot of manual labor to your vehicle if you want it done right, like we're doing here. And you know, it's prep time, 101.
Well, one last thing too. If you don't have the money to have it soda blasted or sand blasted, stripping it by hand is also a good, you know, a really good way to.
Okay, since Limpy got his hands dirty doing that.
To do a good job, you know, stripping it with airplane stripper.
Since Limpy got his hands dirty stripping, let's go ahead and ask him what he thinks about it.
It's time consuming, but you can do a really good job and get everything off of it.
All right, Rat, you just got done stripping a couple cars. What do you think about hand stripping with aircraft stripper versus soda blasting?
If you strip a car, you got to deal with the stinging of your skin.
Is it better than sandblasting?
I think it is.
Yeah, I think it is too. I'm agreeing.
Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and finish that off.
It doesn't etch the body. It doesn't. It leaves a baby smooth.
Not sandblasting, because you only want to sandblast the bottom of your car.
Okay, is this like a conversation between you guys, or can we wrap this up?
Well, you said sandblasting.
Okay, thank you.
No, it doesn't replace
Limpy doesn't have the answers to that, so I'll answer it for him. Keep working, guy. Okay, Minnie made a good point. She was talking about aircraft remover hand stripping. Let's go ahead and look at a vehicle that was hand stripped, and you're gonna see something that is really amazing. If you look at this car right here, you can see that this was hand stripped. This was hand stripped. We did not have that soda blasted. We did not have it sand blasted, but we used aircraft remover to strip it down. I prefer this type of stripping unless there's like 20 coats of paint off it. When there's 20 coats of paint on, it's very hard to strip because the stripper that they sell today is not as strong and lethal as it was back in the day when aircraft stripping was the thing, you know? So aircraft stripping is a good thing to do. If you got the time, be very careful with the strippers. Don't get it in your eyes, don't get it on your hands. Always have a bucket of water handy. If it gets on your skin, you can wet it down and deaden it. Water is the only way to clean this. You got to take steel wool and water, scrub it down immediately after stripped, and you will remove all the stripper. It kills it, and then once again you go ahead and do your body work, and it looks like a brand new door. So that's the 3 ways that you would strip your vehicle to get a professional clean paint job at your house to do it yourself. Once again, this is Pete over at D.I.Y Auto School. I had 3 vehicles in here that were stripped differently, and we showed you all the ways that can be done. We actually have another car on the other side that we had dustless blasting. The dustless blasting is the same thing as sandblasting. The only thing is they spray some fucking chemical on it so it doesn't rust. So, and then you got to come back and completely remove all that before you prime it. What are you looking for, guy?
I was gonna open the door.
Then open it. Get a breeze going through here, bud. Okay, we gotta go. I got a lot of DAing to do, and we will talk to you later. Strip that car, do it right, because if you're not doing it right, you will not be doing it at all.
classes don't stop till you know everything.